Yeah. God help us. To each their own. All right. Randy, morning. All right. That's a little unclear when they do, the allow recording thing, you make the request. Like that's a little unclear, like where you go to click that and then you select it. And then once it's happened, there's no indication that it happened. You just go back to the menu whenever and find out if it's finally enabled. But, what can you do? Yeah. All right. So I'm reticent to get into anything more with, geopolitical tensions the way they are. I'll probably have to be very careful about how I hedge things. But some of these are interesting opportunities. Um, yeah, this one's this one called 8up Swing Trader or something. What is it called? 8up Daily. That's the one. But Microsoft, uh, Google, Dell, Lava, Nvidia. Then we go down to GCT, FTAI. Boy, the FTAI looks great. And do you check the liquidity on that? And XLE maybe? Up, earnings coming up. To show that purple line. Why is it not showing the purple line? That's what we're going after today. PCE was in line and actually showed a little bit more spending, which is it's both bad and good. It's good in that it shows that the consumer is more robust than GDP might indicate, but that's bad because that's going to continue to cause inflation and be a sign that the Fed needs to raise rates more. They really need to squash inflation. They went for the soft landing, and I think you could now say it didn't work. They were too dovish. When it comes to trying to stop inflation from becoming runaway inflation, you have to be aggressive. The Fed should have started raising rates in October of, what was it, 2020, I believe, but they waited until March of the next year. In my opinion, they started raising rates 6 months late, and they've been chasing inflation ever since now. That's the problem. You have to come over the top of inflation, otherwise you can't get it under control. That's why we're still spiraling up above 5%. We need to raise those rates above inflation, and that's just not happening. It's like not happening. Like, how long are we going to be continue to chase the tail of inflation? Um, it's Fed's not in control by acting like this. Inflation is. So it's just been bad in my opinion. This whole thing ever since the pandemic, including the pandemic, of course. But the fiscal response, the economic fiscal response of the, the global economic manager, the Fed, uh, has been uh, too soft. Right now we'd probably be in a raging bull market if the Fed had been more aggressive, caused a recession to continue, and we sucked it up for like 4 to 6 months and just had like a total financial reset, just clean everything out, just wash it all out. Inflation would have been squashed. We would have had none of that bullshit. Well, some of it would have been caused by all of the stimulus printing, but because they would have raised rates, they would have been able to squash inflation. He should have raised rates stronger and sooner. And it's not like they made like an egregious error because it was all well calculated and soft, and we didn't really feel it. But that was kind of the problem. We should have felt it. You can't stop people if they're not hurting. Like literally, that's what the knobs that the Fed has under the control is supposed to do. It's supposed to knock you out. It's supposed to knock you out of the game. And nobody got knocked out of the game. It was all just too soft. What's this? The dream of Fed rate cuts is slipping away. This just report just came in saying it's not going to be cutting. They need to raise rates. It's quite the opposite. It's like typing up a little tweet about exactly that. Just posted. I'll put it in the group. Okay. So, anywho, we've got some opportunities this morning, but the PCA report is not. I wish it just blasted away sentiment. That would have been really nice. But it's kind of, in agreement with that the Fed needs to raise rates. And so that's going to scare off some growth in the market. But more than anything, I worry about the effects that exposing your capital could have right now in the market from geopolitical tensions, because those are the worst days. Those days right here. Oop, let's point them out for everybody watching. Days like this will not go away so long as there's still geopolitical tensions. Like that, that, this, and their frequency, you know, from back here is one. How many? There's been 4 really bad days in the last. Let's measure it up. Out of 21 days out there on the market. So 21 divided by 4, it's not 7. That would be nice. 21 divided by 4. So every 5 real days, or if you want to go by market days, we would say 15. 15 divided by 4. Every 3.75 bars, every 4 bars, every 4 passing market days, the next day, uh, on average, runs the probability of there being a geopolitical tension adjustment in the market. Um, and I can tell you it's almost always going to be to the downside. It's sort of like starting government programs. You can start them, but you can never fucking kill them. You know what I'm talking about, Carl, Randy? People have been around, Marcus. You can start government programs, but it sure as hell is hard to kill them. It's the same thing with war. You start the thing, but when does it end? They can't think of the reason why to end it because they thought of reasons why to start it, and so they have less compassion than the compassion required to end it. So it it doesn't end, you know? It only ends when the good guys step up to the plate and say, you better knock it off or else. And that's not happening. Can you believe that's not happening? The opposite is happening. Oh, here's a bunch of money. Let's fuel this thing instead of you guys knock it off. Yeah, get the hand red button. Uh, and then everyone's like, oh, okay, wait, so hold on. Let's talk about this. Let's just not, knock it off. I got so that's the only way it stops. They'll have the leaders walk over to each other and go, shake hands and like, what were we thinking? It never ends. You just can't stop it. The only hope you have is that the good guys out there can get enough power to say, hey, let's act like real grown-ups, like good guy grown-ups, the best of the best. And you guys gotta stop. Otherwise, so anyway, what I was thinking the other day is I went down this little rabbit hole. I forgot to tell you about it, Randy. Anyway, the market, we're gonna wait for it to open. We got some opportunities here and everything. We got 15 minutes the market opens, but I'm gonna talk about this for like 2 minutes. I don't know. You tell me what you think, you guys. So I was looking up, is there any place on earth you could go where you could stake a claim to land and then not have to pay for it? Like before there were countries, right? You could just go like, this is my land, and you put some cannons on the four corners and grab a bunch of guns, and that's my land, period, right? And it turns out there's none. There's no places left on Earth where you could be a human being. And it got me thinking that, don't you think, therefore, that every government of every country, therefore, is basically mafia? It's like a legal mafia when you think about it. Where you're like, you're born and you exist, and all of a sudden you owe and you must, right? Like, what do you guys think? Have you ever thought about that? Carl probably has. Randy too, probably. uh, I'm just getting around to it. It's like very interesting. Like just allow people to live their lives. And they're like, yeah, but if you're gonna do that in our country, you owe us all a little something. But you can't say like fuck you. I guess this is why people buy private islands. They buy their own little country. But it costs money. You can't just cordon off an area and say, this is mine, there's something wrong with that. Like I'm saying, like they think there's something wrong with that. Obviously, then you'd have to fight with everybody about why not say F you? Well, I know. And probably some do, but either end up in federal prison or, uh, you get raided and you basically go to war with forces. Kind of crazy. Perhaps just expatriating and then, but still got to pay for, like, I was thinking, like, get a catamaran and just live on the catamaran or a yacht, instead of a house, you get a yacht. And then, but, you got to treat it well. It's going to cost maintenance, but that's fine. I mean, it's like, you can make money from wherever you are. I mean, what about these things like, don't they have like religious cults and shit that like start up, like a farm community and it's like totally cordoned off from society? I suppose they have to pay taxes too and get on the radar, but you could do that in some other country, maybe. RJ, good morning. RJ is going to try and be on top of the opportunities. Listen, RJ, the thing is, we were just talking about something totally different. But RJ, I know why you're here. You're here to potentially act on those opportunities. And but the thing is, we were just talking about how geopolitical tensions out there are showing up every day. Every 4 days, we're getting massive drops on the market due to nothing but rising geopolitical tensions, not because of PE ratios or inflation or economics. Geopolitical apocalyptic blips, drops, right? Moving towards um, taking all your money back and converting to something assets that you could have and hold at home. Anyway, so therefore, I'm not super interested in exposing my capital right now. But if I have to do it, I suppose, and the signs are there, and we're getting all the signals, I will reluctantly, but I'm going to stay fairly hedged up until we're flying like over this white line, what I consider underwater on the market. And yeah, I'd be very careful. And I don't think it's going to hold. And I was going to say, and I'd only do it with credit spreads. I would just only do it with credit spreads because you've got to have some buffer here. Like this is just for the uncertainty side of things. And there's probably nothing wrong with just sidelining until November even. That wouldn't even be a bad move. Like just checking out until we find out what's going down for the next 4 years. That's a big trade. You know what I mean? Like to just stay out. That's a macro trade. Wait for the election, find out what's going to happen for the next 4 years. Boom. Now you know. Watch the market, see if there's a signal, see if that lines up with that things should be changing. Either way, the way you wanted to bet on it, and either stay out for another 4 years or get in. Randy says, or it's due to natural increase in the population, wherein there is just no unclaimed land left other than a limited number of small islands. I mean, but Randy, what it really is it's people who already stuck claims in the ground and said this is mine, saying now you need to pay me for a piece of that if you want. So when there's population growth, right? So it's still fighting for possession. But kind of what I'm saying is you can't do that anywhere anymore except in I said possibly corrupt countries like in Honduras. It's the country my wife's from. It's pretty corrupt, uh, and you could probably, although people would notice, but yet if you got the guns, you could back it up. You could probably go up into the mountains and actually claim a stake there, and the government, you'd never have to pay taxes to the government, and the government would never come for you. especially if you staked it in a way in which they'd be at a disadvantage while you've got your guns pointed down there on them or whatever. And the neighbors would not try anything. You could probably work that out. There's probably areas of the world, but still, it's you've chosen quite the situation for yourself. So you could find places where that's viable, but don't do it in the Amazon rainforest or some shit where you're going to get bit by a snake or get malaria. All the good places are already taken, well taken, overlapped. Did you hear something? What was that going on in California? Just continues to go down the communist tubes. There was something the other day. I forget what it was, but it was just ridiculous. Something they're proposing or they passed. Hey, how's it going, man? Welcome in. All right. So anyway, we've got 7 minutes until the market opens. We're watching these stocks. Boom. Microsoft, Google, Dell, Kava, Nvidia, GCT, FTAI. We're not actually watching Wingstop for today, but sure is beautiful. And it has earnings coming up. And maybe we could just keep up XLE, or let me look at XLF. Yeah, XLE probably. So these are some opportunities out there for signals. And this is their daily charts and why they're set up so nicely. These were like the best setups we could find. Microsoft is really in a situation to have a never look back. But that doesn't mean it's a sure thing. We'll have to see how it trades. Like I got in Meta under that presumption the other day, and it's gone the other way. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, yeah, market's going to open in 6 minutes, and we are on these opportunities. These are the same ones in a different order, but these are the same ones as this daily charts. These are 8 daily charts right here, and these are the same ones over here as intraday charts. What we're going to try to do is watch for entry signals intraday, and you guys should be, getting the hang of it and trained on our system and our strategies. What's the very first signal we're looking for? Who can tell me? Intraday, if we're going to get into one of these opportunities. What's the intraday signal once the market opens? There's two major ones, and then there's a third fallback one, hint, hint. 5 minutes to the market open. Anybody? If you don't know, just type IDK. And if all 5 of you type IDK, then I'll explain it. Until then, I'm going to wait for somebody to type the answer. Open above the previous high, Randy. Well, I appreciate you trying. I mean, I know you probably knew what you meant. You just typed it because it's morning. Did you have your coffee yet? I just had mine. That's probably what happened. I know you know what you meant to say is open above the close. And by the way, no. Technically, no. That's not enough. Anybody else? That's not enough in and of itself. All right, well, we only have a few minutes. I guess nobody knows. 1 minute opening range breakout. Everybody know that? Type a Y if you do. Bullshit. Bullshit. Then why didn't you say it? Move above camel would be nice. Yes, that's true. Bullshit. I call bullshit. Uh, so anyway, 1 minute opening range breakout would be nice, especially for catalyst type trades, especially for those. Two, even before then, potentially a break over an inner pivot pre-market. RJ would know that one. Yeah, I know you do, but on the catalysts and really well set up stocks and on good days, it seems to be that the 1 minute opening range breakout is good for PCSs to get into swings, RJ. It seems to be a good signal in the moment. Pre-market high, yeah, pre-market high and pre-market inner pivot high, a break, pivot level break. Yeah. And then if the 1 minute opening range doesn't happen, like it doesn't break out, fall back to the 5 minute dip buy strategy. There you go. Yes. And there's probably a couple other little teeny things as well. But Microsoft and Google are going to open in the stratosphere, new all-time highs. That's a lot of pressure. Hedge funds could just say, all right, I'm cashing out right now. Thing is, Google looks pretty damn good. So we're going to be looking at allocating into anything that's looking good, like it's triggering on the basis of a 1 minute breakout. 176 on Google. Yeah, those levels are there. Something like 417. Let's see if I can get that to okay, like that. FTAI. I didn't even check the option liquidity. I wanted to check the market chameleon on that. Let's go check now. Option volume. Average option volume. Does it really say? But I would have to say it's 2 or 3,000. So it's a little bit on the low side. So FTAI, you could potentially skip. And I bet GCT is the same way. Let's take a look at that. 45 seconds to the market open. Actually, GTC rather, GCT has been fairly robust, but only that in that it's done between 2 and 10,000 volume every day for the last few months, for the last half a year. Whereas the other one's a little bit too spotty. Good word. Good word for it. All right, here we go. Right. Are off. Got the market up in the corner here. Google's bleeding at the open. Microsoft, okay, we're coming up 30 seconds off the open. PCC not quite triggering. Where the fuck is Kava? I don't even see a print on Kava. XLE opened way down. We're going to skip XLE. We're not touching that. FTAI, NVIDIA's not triggering. It's also red off of the open. Dell is triggering. All right. Dell is an entry. That's an entry on Dell. Where's Dell? Dell. Okay. Let's just give it a second on Dell to get over pre-market high or give us the 1 minute signal. Okay, we're not getting signal. Dell is signaling. No, Dell is looking like it could signal over 126.50. Get Dell primed. The market is going sideways, by the way. The 20 delta on Dell would be the 110. Pays 117. That's very nice. I'm ready on Dell if it triggers at 126.50. If it breaks down, then we fall back instantly to the 5 minute dip buy. So do you understand how that works, RJ? course, if it breaks down, but then breaks back up and it breaks over the 1 minute open, that's a signal as well. Okay, we're not getting any signals. Microsoft is bleeding out. Google is bleeding out. The market is dropping. Dell hasn't signaled, but got pretty damn close. Nvidia is bleeding. GCT is bleeding. Kava is not happening. And FTAI, the liquidity could be sketchy. We already talked about, in fact, that's why we should probably take it off. Pretty interesting. And we got the breakdown on Dell as well. So there's a no-go. I love that. I didn't want to get into positions. Okay. And so far, the market's saying, I don't have anything for you. Isn't that just amazing? You gotta marvel at how we have a system that that works like that. We now have zero signals, and that's the amazing thing, the thing that I marvel at is that's probably correct. Now, over on Google and Microsoft Catalyst days, you could attempt an entry at the 5 minute dip buy, but that would be for an intraday trade. It really wouldn't be for necessarily put credit spread because we need green catalyst day thrusts upward to sort of trigger a kind of put credit spread entry on catalyst days. Yeah, so we have no signals. Take a look at this frog iron condor I have. Okay, that's fine. What else? Everything else is moving fairly healthily. Cart continues to be, well, see, that's just the option. Sometimes, Randy, you should start to become aware, and you probably have noticed that sometimes the options, often, frequently, half of the time or more, the options bid and asks and pricings are off, and they, what's the word? Flicker. And so you can't really trust it. And so you got to go to the chart and you got to say, okay, is this really bad or is this really great? You'll get, these strange numbers that show up, especially at the open, Carl said. Yeah. Like I've got this one NTNX, which keeps oscillating back and forth, sometimes between really great prices. I love that put credit spread angle on NTNX. Like what a great downward angle you're able to get there on that. For a stock that's moving up like that, that's just wonderful. But very rarely, except for here, are pullbacks at that angle. So, it's going to work out. Just takes time. Okay, the market has turned around. Where are we at? We're at the 5th minute. So it would be impossible to create a 5 minute dip by entry signal unless it went all the way to the top of that candle and then signaled a break. So, but we do have ranges we're looking for on Google, on Microsoft. And if the market's going to be green like that, then maybe we will get some signals here. Let's see what happens. Let's go to the daily. Kava is looking fairly good. Kava, where's that over here? Yeah, Kava, I would like it to break pre-market high a little bit more and get up to about 63.85 for a little bit of follow through. NVIDIA also the same. If we could get a little follow through in NVIDIA and Kava, we'd have something. It's like FTAI is not going to happen. Take that off. And same thing with Dell. How is Microsoft? Wait, what am I missing here? Are we on the wrong thing? What was the earnings that was released after hour yesterday? Google, and wasn't it Microsoft? Maybe I am looking at the wrong one. There was one that was going to open Stratosphere. Oh no, it was Microsoft. The only thing is I thought maybe it would open closer to 430, and it did not. So I don't even like Microsoft where it is right here, unless it were to act catalysty, and even then, little risky. But Google, I like. It's opened in the stratosphere. It's a blue sky, all-time high open. Only problem is everybody's taking profits, and that's kind of what I suspected might happen. Kava, see, it's red. Nvidia's red. Dell probably going to go that way as well. We're just not getting what we need to see from these stocks. Google on a 1 minute candle basis just did an inner pivot shelf entry signal down at 172.45, but not on a 5 minute dip by basis. And I trust the 5 minute dip by a lot more. You could possibly use the 2 minute candles in a similar 5 minute type candle strategy. And maybe you could get an intraday trade out of it. This is funny. I love this. This kind of goes with like what I was just telling Randy. Look at this. Great meme for that. Microsoft not triggering remotely at all. Google's kind of doing something. We are now on the almost approaching the 9th minute of the market, and we would need to get above the big red 5 minute candle that would have been created by the first 5 1 minute candles here. High, which is 174.72 on Google to create a trigger. However, in the meantime, the growth market is green on the day. It's green from the open. Wing is right there, Neo, Rivian. We looked at a lot of these stocks. I also said this morning that, in retrospect, it's a little bit surprisingly bad at that we only found, correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't you say we only found tops 10 tickers? And I'm not talking about XLE and shit like that and ATFs. I'm talking about stocks, and we already disqualified kind of GCT and FTAI. So we only have 5 actual setups that looked okay, and then maybe 5 more that were for shares traders and didn't have the liquidity for credit spread trading. That's a little low for a gorgeous, breakout moment on the market for leaders to just like for a whole domino of everybody's just, it's like a tsunami starts. Uh, not not happening. There just wasn't enough. I thought there was more. Things were setting up, and sure enough, a few things were set up, but a couple of them were just catalysts. Google and Microsoft were just catalysts. On their own, we basically only had Dell, Kava, and Nvidia, like just on their own progress. And those aren't even Dell, Nvidia, and Kava. Okay, Kava is kind of doing it. But Dell, what happened to Dell? There's Dell. Dell's not quite doing it, and Kava. No, Kava's doing it. And what did I say? NVIDIA and Dell and Kava. Dell, Kava, NVIDIA. Yeah, and NVIDIA's not doing it. Dell's not doing it, but Kava's kind of doing it. But there it is again. Kava's red again. So it's like nothing's making it happen here. The only possibility is possibly Google. Here we go. Yes, when option numbers are swimming around, it is frustrating. It would be nice to be able to predetermine the point at which you are greater than 50% ROC on a PCS and have it trigger the appropriate exit at that limit. I do that. I put those orders in. All you got to do is put the order in as a good till cancel. Good till cancel is a GTC order instead of day. So you just calculate, you know, if you know your max profit, what it's supposed to be, and then you calculate what would the price of my option. Okay, let's say you bought the PCS for $1.17. Whoever's following me say yes, why, or okay. Okay, $1.17, right? So $117 for $483. I mean, $383 of capital for a $5 spread, for example. Okay, so it's $1.17, and that's a very realistic thing. Okay, so what's half of $1.17? I'll let you do that math for a second instead of me. I'll let you go around with that in your brain. What's half of $1.17, people? Okay, so you put an order in, you right click the spread, and you put right click, close vertical put, whatever it is. Click on it, it brings up the order screen. You change the price you're willing to exit at to 0.57, 0.58, right? 50%. That's the 50% point. And then you change the TIF, time in force, to GTC, good till cancel. Boom. And you put that and you jump on your yacht and you don't even think about it. Yeah, correct. I do that on some of mine. I have some right here. Like I have in my working orders, they just sit there, GTCs. And sometimes I get taken out at that 50% point. And it's just automatic. I told you that before. You just weren't listening. Like I told you that like I'm gonna say like 6 weeks ago I mentioned that, but you might have like literally not that you weren't listening to me. Like you were literally probably just paying attention to something else because I clearly said that. I said you can set up your orders. So that's how you do it. You right click, close, vertical put. It pulls up the order. You change it, the number that you're willing to sell at, not to the current price, but to the price that's half of from where you bought it, and maybe a couple pennies more, or a penny more or whatever. And then change the time and force to GTC. And what I do, but this is just what I do, is that on some of those, I'll only do that if I have multiple contracts. I'll only do that for one contract. So if I'm sitting here, that's because I show up every day. If I didn't show up every day, I'd put it for all the contracts. But because I show up every day, I do it for just one. So that way, if I'm sitting here and I hear bling, I go, what the fuck was that? And I go over to my filled orders and I think, oh, cool, cool. So we're finally hitting it on, whatever it is. And then I go look at it and I say, I see, was that a blip or are we actually there? Did something happen? And we're at these levels. Because if we're at those levels, then I want to test another contract with an even more aggressive number and just let it gestate and sit there and see if maybe it gets taken out. Maybe the day is going to fade to decay really fast in my favor. And I work it. I work it like clay or like a punching bag, or whatever. I'm working my exit. And or I can just decide, what, fuck, depending on the market conditions, or do I need some liquidity or whatever in my portfolio, whatever, I'll just go, okay, let's just see if I can finish her off and get the rest out at the exact same price. Usually I won't do that though. I'll usually try. Another thing that I might do is I'll try to sell the rest of the contracts. Let's say I had five and I did one for a feeler and it finally triggered. I might do four contracts, the rest of them at a better price by a good bit, like more, slightly more than just slightly more, because I'm offering four. Like I'm helping other market makers and traders out by offering up some liquidity by putting my order out there. So they have to give me an extra dollar or two or whatever, and I'll let that sit for an hour. And if it doesn't get taken, I look at it and I see if nothing's changed, then maybe I'll inch it up a penny. You know what I'm saying? But I'm working my order like a punching bag. I'm working it. Um, and or I just go ahead and take it out. I just go, okay, well, give me the rest because I've been trying to get out of that position for a long time or whatever. I got options all the way back to just, you can make your order for all the contracts initially, and then you just go, great, automatic, boom, don't have to worry about jack shit. Okay, Nvidia, something good's happening there. Let's go take a look. Nvidia. Nvidia's maybe signaling. I think I'm already in Nvidia though. But all right, where is Nvidia over here? Nvidia is an iron condor for me. Maybe I don't want an iron condor anymore on it. Let me take a look. Maybe this could be a signal. No, it's entering into my iron condor. I'm already located on it, but this is a signal, you guys, for NVIDIA. If you have no NVIDIA, this is a good spot for PCS. You got some nice runway before ER. You've got 26 days, and you really ideally want 24. So you're good. You choose the June 21 contract. You slap it on the 20 Delta, sell a PCS on NVIDIA. And it hopefully should be providing like a 25% ROC. But there you go. That's up to you guys. Educational purposes only. Randy says my allocations too often limit the number of contracts to 1 to 3 total. This makes it harder to wait strategically. Well, it is what it is. Like, one day when you have more money, you can worry about that. You know, like you do what you do with what you got and you follow the rules, and that's the way it is for what you got. And if you're able to be constantly getting into like, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 contracts on something all the time because you love the granularity of that and you can like, work your exits and everything, then great. But the problem is when you are able to get a lot of contracts like that, or you have lots of money and you need a lot of contracts, you run into the next problem. You reach the next level, which is that you need to probably increase your spread on your wing because you don't want to be paying all those fees. The fees will cut into your bottom line. If you got to get 20 contracts, for example, in order to fill up an allocation, then that's 20 contracts to sell and 20 contracts to buy at 65 cents fee per contract times 40 contracts. So that's, roughly, I don't know, let's calculate, it's probably like $30, right? So then you got to figure, okay, with 20 contracts, I'm going to make, $1,700 or something. Who knows what it is? Probably $1,200. And I'm paying $30 for the $1,200. Well, that might seem okay. 30 divided by 1,200, that's 2.5% fees. And that's probably okay. But the thing is, what if you ever have to roll that option, which kind of comes up when you start to get more advanced? Sometimes 1 out of 10, you got to roll an option. You've just set yourself up where one roll is the buying and selling and closing and buying and reopening of 80 contracts in an instant because you chose 20 contracts and not a wider spread. And so now 80 contracts times 0.65, that's $52. And obviously that's about 5% fee. And it's just that, yeah, that's a small amount. I mean, it's like, of the grander scheme of things, okay? But if you could just be a little more intelligent when you're putting the things on, if you just take an extra mental step and widen your spread a little, then you can reduce those contracts by half or more, the number of them, and then that would reduce the fees so much in comparison to how much you're going to be making, that you would just by just taking a little extra moment and thinking about that instead of just being stupid and not naive, let's say, about it. Um, you're saving yourself something in the long run. You're cutting back on your fees. And it'll add up by the end of the year. It'll add up. There could be 2,000, 5, depending on how you trade, but it could be like 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, how many times you trade in fucking options fees per year. But if you can cut that in half instantly just by thinking, that's a huge change, right? Depends on your level, but yeah. Yeah, there's NVIDIA. I was right, guys. Hopefully you got in. There it goes. I'm already in, so I'm good. So don't look at me just because I'm talking. Okay, Kava and GCT looks like they're triggering as well. Let's take a look. Kava's happening. Kava's finally happening, and I love Kava. Do I not have it? I actually already have it. Okay, I already have it, but Kava is triggering. So you guys good to go on Kava. And GCT is triggering. Yes, I like this GCT. Only 274 options traded today. GCT, let's see if it's liquid enough. 6612. You know what? It's actually kind of okay. I'm going to get the 3025 on GCT. Yep, I like that. That's right below support. Love it. Wow, 135. That's really nice. In return, uh, yeah, I'm going balls to the wall on that one. So that was 135 divided by 365. 37% ROC on GCT put credit spread June 21. Nice. I like it. It's right on the borderline of liquidity, but I like it. And it should probably work out. It's not terrible. 235 divided by 265 minus 1, 11% bid ask spreads. I can deal with that. Like I say, keep it below 16%, somewhere around there on the bid ask spreads. I give you guys what's rules of these are all everything's all rules of thumb, right? Because you're a discretionary trader, and sometimes you got to make an exception for some reason. But the rules are the rules. But remember that they're rules of thumb. They're not rules of pinky. They're pretty solid. They're rules of thumb, man. Yeah. So Kava looks good. I'm already in it. GCT, I just got in. NVIDIA, I'm already in. Dell, why aren't you turning around? Google, not turning around. Microsoft, not turning around. Those are our opportunities this morning. FTAI, who knows? Is it also doing well? No. In fact, it's having one of the worst days. A very wide day. There's some other things on our list here. Look at all the green. A lot of green on the growth picks. Let's go right to the top of the S&P 500, RMD. This is a catalyst day. Something or other happening on RMD. It's not super high volume and kind of sketchy volume. I'm not in love with it, although these catalyst days can be great. I see why that's too much resistance overhead. Google, Ball catalyst day, never look back potential. Very nice movement, good projected volume. Ball. Checking the spreads and the liquidity, 518, the 24 delta, 10% spread, and the 6250 below it doesn't even ever trade. So I'd probably go to the 60, and it's only offering 120 or 880 for a $10 spread, only 13%. So it doesn't provide more return than the risk you're putting on. 24% delta. That's too much risk. VFS, no. AFRM, I think we looked at that yesterday. It's not really set up. No. Duolingo, Kavana, VKTX, SMCI, Wing, Coin, FSLR. We looked at all these yesterday. Where Rivian on to. Others from the MHK, from the S&P 500 RS list. Teradyne Systems. Fast right side reclaim on Teradyne Systems. That's quite the signal. This could turn out to be a breakout. I'm going to check out the PCSs on that. That's possibly forecasting something good going on. I typed PCS, TER. They only offered the 25 delta on the June 21s, and then it skips down to the 16 delta. That's an indication when the changes in the deltas between the different strikes isn't granular enough. That's an indication to stay away. Okay, so we'll stay away from that. Up big on our hot list, we got GGLL. That's the leveraged Google. Zim. Hopefully you guys got into NVIDIA. That's doing good. Zim with some crazy high volume projected day today, opening at 12 and now at 13:30 for you intraday traders of share traders of penny-ish stocks. Zim looking pretty cool. App F, no. Space, no. Fingu, that's Fangs. Oshia, hell no. I'm gonna take that off the list as a matter of fact. And NVDL, Skyworks, or SkyWest, I guess this one is. Yeah, this could be quite beautiful. Let's look at the options on that. SkyW. Total options aren't even coming back. 136. Nope, no good. AAOI, no. It's just not looking good anymore. Let's take that off. Our hot list Summit, Therapeutics, it's just kind of MSFU, that's Microsoft. And Purple, no. App. App looks great, but ER is coming up. App is very nicely set up. This is the way we like charts. Pulls back, puts a little inner pivot break. It'd be great if it could break this pivot here, $73. By the way, remember we put a bunch of trend line alerts last night. None of them have happened. Worthy of noting. So this market kind of just full of it. It's just Google. No, what was it? Yeah, Google, I think is doing okay. Well, not even. There goes Kava. Kava's doing good. GCT pulled back a little bit. Let's see if that affected the trade. GCT. Yeah, not too bad. Why do I have INTC? Yes. Oh, I got a lotto call on INTC the other day. Okay, never mind. That's just a lot. GCT, put that over in my folder. You know the DJT, Donald J. Trump stock I was in, DWAC, really took a hit for a long period there, but amazingly never really closed. Every day skirting negative 100% rule, right? But never actually closed in a manner that was either beyond negative 100% or so much so that, I'd have to consider it valid and get out of it. And so now it has come all the way back up. That's a beauty of the put credit spreads right there. It kept me in this whole time on the rules, and now here we are back into the zone, into the profit zone. And it won't take much for this thing to be 50% max profit in a day now. What'd you say? There is a tendency I have to always feel rushed, and that's where I make mistakes. Well, I can tell you this. That is, what's the word? Manufactured. You're making that up. Like, because if you were to be trading shares, I would say that has some validity and people would be, stressing themselves out to get like, to quickly grab the thing. But with credit spreads, there's so much buffer in the position you're about to open up and as it gestates for many days that yes, it's good you act on it, but there's no stress about it, dude. Don't worry about it. It is so much way better than shares that you don't really need to stress about it. Maybe because I think fast and act fast because I'm well practiced. You just feel like my level is the pace you should be going at, but that's not true. Like I could even just wait till the end of the day to get it in a PCS on something. I have all day. I just I want to get it done so I can move on to the next thing. But I'm not faster than I am careful. Okay. So you should be as slow as it takes to be 100% for sure you're doing everything right. You should be as I double check everything I'm doing when I'm doing my trade, even as fast as I'm going. I'm double checking. You should go only so fast as you can double check everything. If that means, you need to create a checklist for yourself, you do that. After a while, it just starts to become well practiced and well habit. You get some of the things down. Uh, but I always kind of double check everything. Even when I click confirm send, sometimes the number, because I didn't click the padlock on the price I'm trying to get, sometimes the number switches on you to a new price the moment you click confirm send and you don't notice it because options blip around and shit. They fluctuate and flicker. And you click confirm send, and all of a sudden you're not getting the ROC on your capital on the confirmation page that you were expecting. So I almost always quickly do the calculation on that. Or if it's an obvious multiplication, like I'm supposed to be getting $1.10 and I'm getting 3 contracts, it should say 330, $330 max profit. And if it doesn't, if it says 305, I go, what the fuck? And I go back, I get out of there, and then I see that the number's back to 330, and I'm like, what the fuck? And then I click confirm send, and now it says 330. Well, what happened was for a blip of a moment, it went to 305, or something else happened. So, I'm always double checking everything. You want to execute cleanly and watch out. Yeah, you can use the padlock, but see, I almost never do. I kind of always want to, if I'm sitting there and it said 330, sorry, $1.10, right? And I click confirm, and I'm about to click confirm send, and it jumps up to 115. And I'm like, ooh, let me click it now. And then I go to click it, and I'm about to click it, and it goes back to 110. Now I want to increase it to 115 and click. That turns on the padlock, and then I click confirm send because I know it's fluctuating between 110 and 115. Well, I'm going to try to get the better price. I'm going to try to sell for more money. Buy low, sell high. When you're selling options, you want to sell for the most you can. And when you're buying them back, you want to buy them back for the least you can. It's always buy low, sell high, universal rule, whether you're selling or buying, whether you're making money on a short or whether you're making money on a long. Buy low, sell high never changes. It never inverts, I should say. Anyway, the DJT, that's one there. Okay. Let's go back to the day watch. See, Google not turned around. Kava looking fucking great. Look at that. Did you guys get it? Sweet on Kava. Nvidia, did you guys get that? Nice. Looks really great. Nvidia and Kava. Woo, very nice. And it doesn't matter where you get it on the PCS in the last few minutes. But it, helps to be getting it when you should have been getting it and not being sleeping around on it. But yeah, these are things we looked at. They are making their moves and they are set up nicely. Other ones aren't. We've looked at everything. We looked at like 210 stocks last night, and there's maybe 10, and we already disqualified a couple of those, and some of them aren't triggering, and so it's not there. Some of the things on this list, I like the names. Here's Sundial and AFRM, but I don't think they're set up. Let's go see AFRM. See, it's not set up. Why would you get into something that's going like this? And ER in a couple days, so that's no good. Sundial. Sundial needs to get over this pivot here. See, it's almost there though. And then this is a penny stock shares trade. This is fucking beautiful. This is like RJ and Carl and Marcus. These are your types of trades, I think. But this is a swing trade almost coming here at 208. What's the high of this candle? 208. If we can break 208, bam, we've got a very nice turnaround continuation inner pivot break on a pullback on a penny stock. This is a penny stock trade though, for people who penny stock trade. And maybe it goes in a few days to 240 or something. It could go all the way. It's got quite a bit of runway before ER. So who knows? But those are for the HFT kind of penny stock trader type personalities. SMCI, nope. Most of these have now Wing, we love, but look at this. It's freaking gorgeous. I would love to get into Wing. This is so good. Remember, we talked about it last night. Oh, shit. It's coming right up to entry, but ER is in like 3 days. Oh, that's a pain in the ass. This is looking like an outstanding breakout moment on Wingstop. It's getting ahead of itself. But that could set up a nice lotto put for ER on it. Like, what if it gets way up here and people are just like, it's going to be great. And then, it's not quite good. It's going to cause a wonderful lotto put situation and panic sell off. The appropriate thing on Wing would be to reject a little bit here or slightly break out and come back down and tighten up VCP wise just before earnings and be right there. And then you can have that very nice catalyst day pivot breakout that creates on this incredibly strong move that creates fantastic runs. Yeah, ALGN, we didn't check that the other day. Okay, the line. Hood, AMD, VKTX, Palantir, ANF. Now I kind of dig ANF, but look, let me show you something about on the technical analysis side of it. So you had, this beautiful run, and then a kind of a terrible, strong pullback for which we only had slow reclaim. So that's not good. And then fast down, slow up, and then fast down, and then break down, and then slowing, and momentum slowing. And now we're getting this potentially, positive type movements, which could start a fast reclaim and breakout. Just depends on, how things go on that thing. But the problem is, I'd like to see it get above this point really first. That descending trend line right there. I'd like to see that negated. And ideally, I'd like to see this point also broken. But, this whole right side here is very interesting, but it needs a fast right side reclaim in order for this dip down below this break to be worthwhile. It's probably going to have to bounce some more and do something like that. And then, maybe it'll break out exactly at trend line break, like right there. I like that a lot more if that happens, as far as cheat entries go. Am I in it? I have a lot of lines on there. I am in it. Yeah, I have an iron condor on that. So long as price stays within the mouth here, uh, it's a profit zone. All right, we're 10 minutes after the hour. It is very interesting out there. We got into some positions. Kava and Nvidia look great. GCT's hanging in there. FTAI kind of fuck you. Dell could happen today. Not a very good showing, but could happen. Microsoft not happening, Google not happening, and so that's where we're at. Overall, that's about it. All right. So have a great weekend, everybody. I'll see you back in the group. Stay safe out there, stay smart, and I won't see you on Monday. Monday, I'm going to be going do some important morning errands, and then I'll be back, a little bit later in the day. I'll let you know about that. All right, everybody, have a great weekend. Enjoy it. One life to live.